Hey guys, it's Liza and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be sharing with you my advice for year 12. So I have now finished year 12, so in September I'm going to be moving up into year 13, so my final year of A-levels, and I thought that I would just kind of share with you what I personally thought of year 12, as well as any kind of tips, trips, advice that I have learnt from doing the year. So I'll be going through some filing systems and how they worked, revision and studying techniques, actually choosing your A-levels if you haven't done already, supercurriculars and extracurriculars and kind of what they are and what the difference between them is, as well as my personal opinion on how I found the year. Okay, so the first part of the video is going to be on filing. So I had a very different filing system from when starting in year 12 to now, because before I actually started year 12 and in about the first half term, the filing system that I had I thought worked really well, but as I got further into my studies I realised that it possibly was not the best system, and so I changed it halfway through the year, and the one that I have now I found has really worked for me. So what I now have is separate folders for each of my subjects. So I have one for politics, one for business, as well as one for the Tudors section of my history course and another for my Russia section of the history course. So when I started the year I just had one history folder, but I found that that was not big enough to fit both of the parts of my course in. So at the end of the year I've realised that these folders are all quite full up now, and so I will probably get some new ones for year 13 and split them further into year 12 course and year 13. If you're about to go into year 12, I would definitely recommend getting individual folders for your subjects, as well as some dividers to go into them to separate each section of your courses. Again, similar to what I did at the beginning of the year, I still have a printout of my specification in the front of each folders, which I find really helpful to go back and look at where we are in the course. So moving on to the revision that I did in year 12, this changed an awful lot from what I did at GCSE, and I have to say I have adapted the way that I went around my revision throughout the year to what exams that I had and how much time I needed to spend on doing revision in comparison to other things. So to give you an idea, at GCSE I started revising for my main exams at about March time and started writing notes and doing flashcards. That worked for the beginning part of year 12, however moving into where my mocks were, I did have to do a whole lot more revision than I originally expected. So starting from September I made sure to write up all of the notes that we were given in class neatly, so that when it came back to revision I had already started it on that very basic step, and so I could just carry it on from there, which made revision a whole lot easier when it actually came to our mock exams. And whilst doing this, I was also able to see if there were any parts of the course that we had missed out and fill in those blanks within my class notes to make sure that I had very in-depth notes. And this is something that you are going to have to learn to do at A-level, because your teachers will not always give you the full amount of information that you need, and you will probably have to go away and do extra reading to make sure that you have all of the details and specifics that you need. So moving on to the actual revision that I did for my mocks, I started around end of March, beginning of April time, because my mocks were halfway through May, and for this I carried on doing my class notes, any that I had not finished throughout the year, as well as moving on to condensing these into flashcards, as well as little flashcard booklets where I found the key bits of information from the revision guide and wrote them in there, so I had a quick summary of what I needed to know. Closer to the time of my exams, so sort of end of April, beginning of May, I also did loads and loads of mind maps, basically summarising the whole of the specific course. So take history for example, the Tudors section, I did a whole big mind map on Henry VII, another one on Henry VIII, doing my individual branches as the topics that we may possibly get a question on, and this really helped. So I used my own notes, the revision guide, textbooks, as well as any notes that I could find on the internet to make sure that I had everything that I really needed in order to do well in my exams. I also made sure to do a lot of practice questions and made sure that I got the exam technique right, which is similar to what I did at GCSE, but I did it more in depth. So actually choosing what A-levels you want to do can be a really difficult decision to make, and some of you may have already made that decision, others however may not, and may have absolutely no idea how to actually go about choosing your A-levels. So what I personally did was I found these subjects which I really enjoyed. So from GCSE I really enjoyed business and history, and then I looked at the other courses that were on offer for A-level that hadn't previously been offered and found which one I was most interested in. So for me that was politics. So to actually decide that I wanted to do them, I had a look at the specification, I had a look at a bit about them to see if I was actually going to be genuinely interested in it. And I found that really helpful to see if I would actually be taking an A-level which I enjoyed instead of one that I'm taking just to get a grade. So some of you may also be thinking, should you take 4 A-levels instead of 3? I personally only took 3. I did debate doing a 4th, but weighing up the pros and cons, I thought that 3 was a better fit for me because it gave me more free time to focus on my other studies, as well as have time to do my extracurriculars and supercurriculars that I wanted to do. However, if you're looking further ahead, there may be a really good reason for you to do 4. So you may also be wondering, once you actually start your A-level course, if you're finding that you don't enjoy a subject, whether you can change to another. So I think it's probably different from school to school, but at my 6th form we did have the option to change up until the October half term, and then after that you had to really consider it and actually talk to an awful lot of teachers about whether it would be the best fit, and it did get an awful lot harder to switch your A-levels after that October period. However, all of the teachers understand that they are new subjects for some of the subjects that you may be taking and may not like them as much as you think you are. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about is supercurriculars. So you may be wondering, what are supercurriculars and are they just the same as extracurriculars? So no, they are not the same. Supercurriculars are activities which further your knowledge in a specific area, like subject area, and extracurriculars is like your hobbies and things that you do outside of your studies. So you may think, why is it necessary to have supercurricular activities if you are already doing extracurricular? So although extracurricular activities can help you with a different set of skills which you may need, so for example scouts or guides, as well as you doing something that you really enjoy apart from your academic things, supercurriculars are really helpful, especially if you want to apply to university, because they further your knowledge in a specific field and they can show the university that you are applying to that you really have an excitement for the subject that you want to do. Maybe thinking, what can you do for your supercurriculars? Well, it can be as simple as reading a book that is outside of your set reading, or getting work experience with a specific career field, or there are things called MOOCs which you can do online, and they're basically little online courses that further your knowledge in a specific area. If you just give them a quick Google, then loads will come up for you and for what you want to study, and lots of them are free. Okay, so moving on to the final part of the video is my honest review of how I found year 12. So to start with, it was a lot different than I originally expected. Part of that is because we did have a 3rd lockdown right in the middle where our A-level studies would have been really getting to the pace where they stayed at instead of just the introduction. But I found it really good and I really enjoyed it. There were things that I had learned outside of my studies from different experiences that I have had and that I got involved in, and I've really enjoyed my studies, and it is learning in a lot more depth than you do at GCSE, which if you're studying these subjects which you enjoy, it can be so enjoyable. I also found that the workload, even though you are doing less subjects, it is a whole lot more than GCSE. I have to say I was a bit naive about this when I first started. I did think, oh, it won't be as bad because it is less subjects, but it is. And I do 3 essay subjects and I had essays basically every other week that I needed to hand in from various different subjects, as well as lots of exams along the way. So going away from the actual studying, I have carried on being friends with my wonderful group from GCSE, and I'm still really close with them, as well as finding new friendships with people who I am now really close with. And they are people who I was kind of friends with at GCSE, but have gotten so much closer. So my advice would be, don't be too concerned if your friendships change, but do hold on to the ones that you have already got and try to develop them as you grow as a person, because you will grow as a person in A-levels. I know that I am very different at the end of year 12 from where I was at the end of year 11. So if I could do year 12 again, what I would have done differently, I would probably have said to myself, don't be naive about the workload and get your homework done when it is set, because otherwise it will pile up a lot quicker than you expect it to. I know there were some times when I was set an essay and I thought, I will do that later, and then it got to the day that the essay was set and panicked a bit because I had this 45-minute essay that I had to write in half an hour. So I would really say get on top of your homework early. So the same goes for revision, get on top of that early and try not to leave it until the last minute right before your mock exams, because you will soon realise how much content there is to learn. So I started revising all the way back in September, however I wouldn't necessarily call it revising as such. I was basically just making notes so that I had them and they were all neat and up to date. So when it did actually come to my revision, I didn't feel as overwhelmed with the amount that I had to do. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you can take some of the advice that I have given you into your own A-level studies. For all of you who are starting year 12 in September, good luck, and I hope that you really enjoy it and take all the opportunities that you can, because it is such a great time for you to be experiencing new things that you may not have thought of trying before. So I will see you guys next time. Bye!